With that said, what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to introduce our first speaker of the day. He's a gentleman who's just a remarkable entrepreneur. He's what I would call a serial entrepreneur. He goes from business success to greater business success. Many of you know him back from his days where he was one of the founding team members and a former CEO of the Priceline.com family of companies. How many of you have ever heard of Priceline.com? How many of you got here because of Priceline.com? Pretty cool. You name your price. Pretty clever thing. What many of you didn't know is that this gentleman actually had started up another travel company, basically out of college, where he went to Yale University, that he sold to American Express Travel for several millions of dollars before he ever was involved with the Priceline side. I think one of the things that you look for in an entrepreneur is someone who's not just had one business success, but has had multiple business successes, because that pattern, that consistency, tells you that this person has something to say about that. He's gone on to other businesses that have totally uninvolved with travel. For example, he produced a private, an independent film. Cost somewhere less than $10 million to make the film. That grossed over $100 million worldwide. His current company that he is the CEO for, publicly traded company, is the Enable Holdings. Basically, they sell about $2 billion worth of goods on the internet. Who thinks that's pretty good sales? It's not a bad year if you can have it, right? $2 billion. He's also someone who's quite philanthropic. Many of you know him here from the area. He was one of the chairs for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game one year. He's been involved with various charities here. He's a phenomenal person and a business owner, a business thinker. Please help me welcome up Jeff Hoffman.
Thanks, Guy. Thank you. So what I want to do now is to tell you what this weekend is about. I'll give you a couple more examples in here. But it's again, why I'm here and you know, why when I met David and Stephen and the Maui Mastermind team, you know, why I was so impressed and wanted to be part of this. This is a group of people that said, we want to help America businesses build their businesses. You know, we're going to rebuild one business at a time. We're going to give the tools that they don't have, the peer group they don't have. So let me sort of walk through what that actually means. And what you'll get out of this weekend that we're just kicking off right now is called the Business Owners Boot Camp. And it's kind of leading into a series of products from Maui Mastermind. But the first thing that I want to say, which I said before, is, you know, people always tell me when they have a chance to go to seminars, workshops, weekends, etc., the week in Maui, is they can't afford the time or the money. And again, my question is always, you have something better outside of maybe your children. Do you have something better to invest in than yourself and your future? You know, I have never hesitated to go try to get myself more education at every chance I get, to go network and invest in yourself, because that's the best investment you can make in your future. And actually, if you're trying to help your family, that's the best way to do it, right? Because what's the best thing you can give your partner, significant other, or your kids is a better you. Okay, so it is worth investing in yourself like no other thing. Business education, okay, and that's a term that I had never really thought of before. I never had access to it. I had to make all the mistakes. But what you guys have a chance to in a weekend like this Business Owners Boot Camp and these other Maui materials is get actual education. Go through the steps with somebody. And Stephen hasn't been up here yet, but the other Maui partner, Stephen Wilklow, Stephen and I were talking one day, and Stephen was talking about the concept of, practice. How do athletes get better? Well, everybody gets that. You shoot more free throws. You shoot 600 free throws a day. You work out. You run passing routes. They practice. Why is that so foreign to business people? Right? I want people to think of that. Why don't you practice? Well, none of us would ever think that going to something like this is the equivalent of a workout. It's a business workout. It's practice. You'll be way better in the game if you practice more. And once that occurred to me, and I have a lot of friends who are in professional sports, and one day I actually thought to myself, when they're all at practice, what is that exercise I just told you I do every morning? I'm practicing for business. I realize I do practice my craft just like you do. I have specific drills that I do and specific education I pursue, and events like this that I come to. I practice like an athlete. I want to give you a quick story, and again, I apologize. Some of you have heard this before, but it has never left me. It's a friend of mine right here in Atlanta that some of you know. Of course, I chose the picture of Evander knocking out Mike Tyson specifically. But this was years ago. Evander, when he and I first became friends, we were on a flight back to Atlanta from a charity event and started talking. And we were looking at he was making a comment, right? I'm in case you can't tell, I'm white. Evander's black. So immediately people didn't associate with us with each other. I came from sort of an average middle class white neighborhood. He came from, the dirt. He lived in a 1-bedroom house with 9 kids where they only had 1 bed. So everything about us was different on the outside, right? He had been pulled away to go to the Pan Am Games and the Olympics and professional boxing when he was a teenager. I went through school. I went on to a school like Yale. Then my whole life was business and entrepreneuring, and his was spent in sports. So at the outside, when we were talking, Evander said a comment to me one day. He said, it's funny how anybody looking at the two of us from the outside would think we have nothing in common, but everything we actually believe in, we're exactly the same person. Well, I took that to heart a little bit, and one day something really hit me. He was training for a fight. This might have been way back, the Lennox Lewis fight or something. But I was with Evander one day when he was in the gym, and he was doing this exercise that he does three sets of 100 of this extremely difficult physical exercise. And I was sort of counting and just sort of hanging with him that day. And he got to the end of this. Most human beings could do this twice. He does it 300 times. That is why Mike Tyson is falling down in that picture. And Evander's at the end, and I'm sort of counting, and I said 299, 300. And he stops in midair, holding that weight at the end of 300. And he goes, Jeff, 299 or 300? I said 300. And he said, was it 299 or 300? I was like, it was 300. And without ever taking his eyes off of me, he does one more rep. And he's still looking at me, and he says, I think it was only 299. Okay? And he does one more. Well, I made the mistake of rolling my eyes. Okay? Amazingly, I'm still alive today. I rolled my eyes like, what? It's the difference. You did 299 of them. And he goes, look at me. Right? And I looked, and he said, the difference, and this, I'm going to tell you something that still gives me goosebumps. Evander said to me, the difference between 299 and 300 is the difference between heavyweight champion of the world and every other boxer. And you know what? That was one of the most prolific business lessons I ever learned. I had a thing in my office. I had the number 299 with a big red slash through it. People would say, what does no 299s mean? I never forgot that the reason he climbed his mountain, my mountain was business. The reason he climbed his mountain is because if you set out to do 300 and it is late at night and you are tired and 299 is pretty darn close, there is somebody right down the street that just finished 300. And tomorrow in the ring, they will be that much ahead of you. They'll be fitter. They'll be better. The lesson he taught me, whenever I felt like just stopping short of my goal or not quite doing something that I knew I could do a little better, I remembered that lesson. The winners they were not smarter than you. They just did the whole 300. They didn't settle. 299 is not enough. Because tomorrow, 298 is almost 299. And guess what happens Thursday? 297. You have to write those goals down and don't go to bed until you finish them. There is no success without hard work. One time I was being interviewed on this news report, and this lady said, the news reporter, live on TV, said to me, so what's the secret to success? And I said, the secret to success is, while you guys were all looking for the secret, my ass was in the office. I was working, right? I wasn't looking for the secret. I was doing what I had to do to achieve the goals. There is no secret. Quit looking for it. You can't win without putting out the effort. You got to do 300. You got to put the work behind achieving your dream. Of course it's hard. If it wasn't hard, everybody would be the heavyweight champion of the world and everybody would be Donald Trump. So there must be something they're doing differently, and we just talked about it. Okay? They're not smarter than you, better than you. They just put forth the effort. Upgrade your peer group. Okay? That's one of the other, besides the education you get here at Maui, one of the things that I love in these Maui Mastermind events the various Maui events I've attended, is upgrading your peer group. The people sitting around you, and that's why David had you meet each other. A lot of the knowledge that you could use, the ideas that you could share, the potholes you could avoid, the brilliant innovations that you could trade are right here in this room. So the upgrading your peer group, when you're doing a weekend like a Maui weekend or being an event like this, you're around people like you. You're around other people that are willing to do 300. You're around other innovators. You're around other people with dreams. You're around other business, people with business education. They have skills you don't. Being in part of a peer group and having access to mentors, the teachers that you have at events like this, will raise your game quite a bit. And I'm going to tell you another just very quick story that really impacted my life. I was I was in corporate America very briefly. And when I was in corporate America, I had a boss, when I quit to become an entrepreneur, I had a boss that told me I would never succeed at anything in life. I was going to be a major failure. And I said, why? And he said, because you got 3 huge flaws. And I was thinking 3, I got like 300. But anyway, he said, you got 3 huge flaws. And I said, tell me that. And he said, first of all, he said, in business, you got to, in this company, you got to stick to these projects for years and years. He said, you just don't have the attention span. You're always doing 10 things at once. And he said, I've worked on one thing for 3.5 years straight without doing anything else before. Your lack of attention, your inability to control your attention span makes you a failure in business. And I slipped down in my chair a little bit because this is my hero at this company. And I said, what else? And he said, you're impatient. And he said, you just got to be patient. Things happen. You got to let things come to you. You're always impatient. And he said, you know that phrase, patience is a virtue? It's true, Jeff. And you're one of the most impatient guys I know, and you're going to fail at everything in business. And I'm already feeling bad enough. And he said to me, and there's one more. He said, you have no respect for the rules. And he said, do you think the rules were set, you think you're smarter than everybody else? I said, I never said that. And he said, well, people way smarter than you made the rules. The world works a certain way and business runs a certain way because people way smarter than you made these rules. They blaze these trails, and I don't get why you can't respect that. And he said, so you're just going to fail because you have these huge personality flaws. I went home that night, and I was extremely depressed because the guy I looked up to, that everybody wanted to be in our company, told me that I had no chance of making it because I was inherently flawed in these 3 major ways. So I turned on the thing that always consoles me, ESPN. And I was watching sports. And it was a golf thing, which I don't usually watch. I was flipping the channels, but I only stopped because a famous baseball player was on the show. And this golfer, professional golfer, said, swing it like this. He swings the club, right? He drives a beautiful drive way down the fairway. Then he hands the club to the baseball player, who swings this horrible, awkward swing, and the ball dribbles away. And he goes, you're swinging it like a baseball bat. Swing it like a golf club. And he hits his again. And the baseball player, he hands him the club, and he says, try again. And the baseball player swings again, horrendous golf swing. And he goes, you're swinging your golf club like a baseball bat. And he said, you're never going to be good at golf. And the baseball player turned to him and said, sir, with all due respect, I won the MVP last year. I'm leading the league in home runs. I make like $20 million a year. He said, I'm okay that I can't golf. He said, I want to play baseball. And he handed him the club back and just kind of walked off. It was the epiphany of my life at that moment in business. I sat bolt upright and I said, oh my God, I know what happened. I said, I don't want to be a golfer, and I spent all my time with golfers. The guy that told me I was flawed was because I was swinging the golf club like a baseball bat. Well, guess what? I don't want to be him. I don't want to play golf. I want to be the MVP of baseball. That realization made me go upgrade. If I had known about a group like Maui, I would have been here. I needed to be hanging out with baseball players, not golfers. I needed to upgrade my peer group. So I sat and thought, who do I look up to? Who do I emulate? Who's my role model? And there was an entrepreneur in the community that was not a big corporate guy. And I begged him to just let me buy him lunch. And one day he did. And I sat down with him, and at the end of lunch, he said, you're going to be very successful as an entrepreneur. And I said, why do you said that? And guess what, folks? He said 3 reasons. He said, you're a brilliant multitasker. I said, yesterday I was unable to focus on a single task. And he said, you can't be a business owner if you can't multitask. And I said, what else? And he said, small businesses win because they never stop driving. He said, you have inherent impatience. You push everything all the time. That will make you a winner as an entrepreneur. You can't sit around as a small business because you'll get steamrolled. Yesterday, my impatience was a problem. Today, it's a virtue, right? And it was so funny. If he hadn't said the third thing, it wouldn't have been so funny, but he did, right? And he said in the third thing, he said, I think you'll be a trailblazer. He said, everybody else gets in line because someone painted the line. He said, you walk up and say, who painted that line? Why are you all standing there, right? And he said, you question everything, and that's what innovators do. They don't assume the rules are right. They just assume they've been there 20 years, and they question it, okay? So it was interesting to me that when I asked a baseball player, how's my swing? He said, wow, that's an MVP swing. When I asked a golfer, he said, you'll never be good at golf. I want you to upgrade your peer groups, right? I want you to be around the kind of people you want to be like, that you want to be around, and it will raise your game. It is absolutely amazing. And then, what do you do with all that? You need a roadmap. So now you got energy, you got enthusiasm, you got the right skill sets, you got an idea. You need to build a roadmap. So what I sort of want to close with is, in a weekend like this at Maui, what do you learn? Why do you come to an event like this? What are the things that we can help with or that you need to get done? First of all, remember, like I said before, athletes practice, well, so should business people. What is our practice? It's actual training. Just like an athlete goes to training and works out with a trainer, it's training in how to launch a business. It's training in how to grow a business. It's training in how to scale a business, which is nowhere near as easy as it sounds. You think if my business is growing, that's great. How hard can that be? Just give you a quick idea. This will never happen again because it was that internet moment in time. But when we launched Priceline, our sales in 1997 were 0. Our sales in 1998 were 35 million. Our sales in 1999 were 482 million. So believe me, I know something about scale. How do you grow a business? Again, that will never happen again because that was that weird internet thing. But I'll tell you what, we were in that raging creek with no paddles. We barely had a boat, and we had to learn how to scale. What I learned is the difference between small companies and whatever the highest level of your dream is your ability to scale your business. So that's the hidden gotcha on this list. I know a lot of people how to launch a business, and they know how to grow it steady. But if you want to take it to the next level, how do you scale? You will learn that here. We have, successful entrepreneurs that take you to that, and then exit your business. A lot of people, I didn't know that very first company I had, that one day I'm sitting in my office and I look up and there's like 20 dudes in dark suits that just come pouring in. It was sort of like a clown car coming out of the taxi. They were mergers and acquisitions guys from American Express. They did not like the clown car analogy, it turns out. They pouring into the office, and I said, what can I help you guys with? And they said, we want to buy your company. And I said, geez, I don't know how to sell my company. I don't have the slightest clue what an exit strategy was or what to do. And there were 20 of them, and they were armed, okay? They had their briefcases, their papers, and I was like, wow, I wish somebody had taught me what to do now. I learned it the hard and expensive way. In the end, we wound up with a win, but I wish I had somebody to taught me about the exit piece of this thing. Build yourself a business, not a job. That's one of the things David likes to talk about, is people launch their own company so that they don't have to get another job. They created themselves a job. If you function that way, you will only have a job. You need to build a business. I'm going to tell you what level 1, 2, and 3 are on the last slide here. A lot of times, people say, I'd love to build a business, but I never have time. I'm so busy, I can't do all these things. One of the tools and techniques taught here is time management. Extremely underrated when you are multitasking. How do I get all this done? I get overwhelmed. Well, you know what? There's tools and techniques that you can learn here this weekend that help you take a little bit of time and slice it up most effectively, and how to manage your time. And then how to develop a roadmap, right? A business plan, here's the difference. A business plan is strategy. A roadmap is tactics. The roadmap is how you implement your business plan. You need your business plan to have a strategy, but you need a roadmap that says, what am I actually going to do? How am I actually going to achieve what's in this plan? You need a roadmap. That is not a simple thing. Working with people who've written roadmaps and executed them and have them help you write one for your business is why people come to this weekend. And then the last is achieving level 3. Let me explain to you what that is. I put up one of David's slides that I stole here because David's right. This is traditionally how we're raised, right? We're raised to believe that there's a certain, you grow up, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you work for 30 years or whatever, and you retire. That's the model that a lot of people were raised with. That you work for, after college, there's some point you're supposed to get married. There's all these rules we were given. I don't know who wrote that book. And then you work all these years, and eventually you retire, you save money that whole time. I don't know, but I never, I certainly know with my short attention span that if I had to look at it, an 80-year plan, I would have just killed myself then. I could not have followed that. I remember thinking, who says, why do I have to do it that way? Because they say you have to do it that way? You don't have to follow that whole thing where your goal in life is to get a job that you work until you can retire, right? There are other ways to achieve your goals. So let's talk about this level 3, which is some of the content that I really like about Maui. And your job is to take your business from level 1 to level 3. Level 1 is when you're starting a business. When you start your business, you have no control of your business. It's new. It's not stabilized. You haven't used all these tools to execute and to get control of your business. And guess what? You have no freedom because you're in startup mode. You're working 24/7. So at level 1, you don't have any control of your company yet because you haven't input the tools and techniques, and you don't have any control of your life. You have no freedom. When you graduate to level 2, you've built your business. It's up and running. You got some control of your business. Hey, this is going pretty well. This business is actually working. But guess what little realization you make? And some people falsely, you realize that if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, that's the end of your business. You have no freedom because it can't run without you. I used to meet people, I know it's an ego thing, CEOs that were so proud of the fact that when they walked around their company, they were so important. This place can't function without me. And I think you're proud, actually you're inefficient. Why are you bragging about that? The day what I was most proud for me, my level 3 day. Level 3 is the day that you use, I'm going to show you, you use tools and techniques and systems and accelerators and teams. You use all the things that we teach you here to get to the point where your business is running on systems and procedures and people. And not only is the business under control and running profitably, but you got your life back. You got freedom. You can walk out. So one day, when I had friends who told me nothing happens in this company that I don't approve. I approve every decision, right? I'm the big guy in this company, and they can't function without me. One day I was in my office, and I looked at my agenda, and I had nothing that day. Okay, I'd kind of done my little information surfing, and I was sort of done. So I got up and I walked over to marketing, and I said, hey guys, how's it going? And they said, we're good, Jeff. Keep walking. Right? And I was like, oh, geez, sorry, I was just trying to help. They said, we don't need your help. So I walked over to engineering. What are you working on? And they said, a product you probably wouldn't understand. Why don't you go see what they're doing over in finance? So I went over to finance, and I said, hey guys, and they said, Jeff, margins are up. Everything, the new idea you gave us the other day, we implemented it, and profits are up, right? So then I walk over to operations, and I said, hey guys, how? And they said, Jeff, golf or something, right? They said, we know you're wandering around looking for something to do, but we don't need you. And instead of feeling, at first, I was like, geez, at first I briefly felt unimportant, but you know what I realized? I said, wow, I did it, right? I actually built a company that was so well designed and so efficient that if I don't golf. But if I did golf, or okay, I'll go to the batting cages and hit a few balls. If I left, nothing would happen. My business could run. When we set out to build Priceline, we sat in a room and they said, what do you guys want to do? And we said, build an electronic cash register that we can sit on the beach and it just goes ka-ching all day. It runs itself. We don't need to be there. I don't want to be in the office. People will buy stuff from us. The system will work. The fulfillment will happen. The customer service will get taken care of. And we can be on the beach while revenues go up. This past year, the reason Priceline stock is back up to $167 is people said an internet company couldn't be profitable. I say if you use all the tools and techniques we're talking about here, it could. So what we actually got to when people said it couldn't be profitable, last year Priceline did $1.4 billion in sales and made $400 million in profits. Don't tell me internet companies can't be profitable. It has nothing to do with what industry you're in, internet or not. It has to do with your ability to climb this curve right here and design your company. So here's sort of the tasks that we teach you. Level 1, you got to write a plan. Level 2, you got to get out in the market and do a little bit of testing. That's what we talked about. Talk to a real customer. Don't ask a bunch of golfers if they would use this baseball bat. Go give it to a baseball player and say, how does this one feel? Okay, test in your market and launch. Don't sit forever in your office trying to make it perfect. Get out there. The only way to perfect a business is to run it and let the customers tell you, I don't really like this. Say, geez, did I get that one wrong? Go back in at halftime and adjust. Okay, get out in the marketplace. When you get to level 2, and I'm not going to go into this because there's a whole class on this, on building your core, but you're starting to actually assemble the engine of your business now so that you can get to level 3. There's a whole, and again, I won't go through the list because we're going to do that in this workshop, but there are a list of business accelerators. And we talked a little bit. I mentioned things like systems that you put in place that automate the functions you used to have people to do. Things like knowing how to build a team to staff so that you have the result I did. When I walked around the company, I had hired such good people that they didn't need me anymore. Okay? So you learn about the various accelerators for your business, and then you get to that ever difficult piece. Now you got a solid business, it's up and running, you got systems, you can hear the engine humming of your business when you walk down the halls and you realize, geez, my $5 million business could be 20. My $20 million business could be 100. How do I get there next? How do I scale the machine I just built? So that's what we're trying to do in level 3, where you make that transition and ultimately you wind up with an exit. That's what there's some reason you started a business. It might be for lifestyle. You wanted to work at it for many years. It might be to sell it. Whatever it is, you're actually driving towards your exit plan, the ultimate goal for your business. So that's the curve every one of us wants to climb, and that's what we teach you here. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you guys realize you are the future, not Citibank and AIG and all those people. I hope that I showed you that people just like the folks in this room have changed the country. They've created great value for the world we live in, and they've created great value for themselves. And I hope I've showed you that the similar characteristics of people who win, whether it's sports, business, anything in life, are all the same. It's that passion, it's that drive, it's that focus on the team around you, it's getting education. All the things that we talked about seem to be the common elements every time I meet a winner. They seem to have those same traits. And you should be looking at that stage and saying, why not me? I can do all that. I have all those traits, because guess what? You can. You just got to do it, and you got to get all the help you can to do it.